Welcome to House Talk, with videos that'll provide maintenance tips unique to Trilogy at Vistancia Homes. With your host, Doug Bowman.
So today we're going to talk about fences. Here at Trilogy at Vistancia, there are wrought iron fences that serve all sorts of purposes. Just ask Charlie. There are tall fences on short walls, there are short fences on tall walls, and fences with no walls at all. There are fences that keep pets in and fences that keep critters out. The array of installations can be staggering. In fact, there's some fences that are 15 to 20 years old already, and some fences that are even being installed today. But the one thing they all have in common is that they all have to abide by the Trilogy CCRs, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, and the design guidelines, which detail what they'll look like, what they're made of, and who's responsible for maintaining them. And I'll give you the abbreviated version of that answer. If you or a previous homeowner built it, you have to maintain it. Now, if you're the second or third property owner, you may not know who got the approval from the HOA's Architectural Approval Committee, or even if it was at your property owner's request at all. It may have been your neighbor's request, or maybe the both of you went in on it together, in which case you both have to maintain it. If you're not quite sure, you can contact the HOA. They keep pretty good records on these kinds of things. So let's talk about some of the issues we're seeing with our wrought iron fences as they get older. Obviously, the sun beats down on them, causing the paint to fade, but that's pretty true of everything else here in the desert sun. And most owners only encounter very minor rust or oxidation issues, so cleaning, scraping, minor rust, and repainting your fence can prolong its life and keep things looking good. But if you've lived next to an area that's had a history of being sprayed with water, especially reclaimed water, like the common areas and parks or the golf course, you need to go and check out your fence, especially the backside. The minerals remaining in the reclaimed water are extremely corrosive to the iron and will require constant attention over the years. Don't worry about access. The CCRs allow for easement access to the backside of your fence to inspect and repair them, even on your neighbor's side. Just be sure not to damage anything while you're on their property. Getting back to the rust, you can't just paint over rust and expect it to last. If the corrosion's bad, you have to grind it out, wire brush it, and prime it with a good rust inhibitor before you can even put the final finish coat on. It takes a lot of elbow grease to make it right. It's also going to make a pretty good mess. Be aware if you or your neighbor has a pool, be sure to keep any metal filings and dust out of the pool. The flaking rust particles can damage the pool's liner and finish, as you can see here. Regarding the painting, the design guidelines specify the touch-up paint and color to be used on our fences. So I went to a Dunn Edwards dealer to get a gallon of the paint. While you can still get the weathered brown color in the semi-gloss finish, I learned that they've phased out the oil-based paint line, which was originally specified. They do have a water-based alternative, but it's not cheap unless you can get contractor pricing. If you're interested in doing the job yourself, I would go to one of the big box stores and show them the design guideline specification. They'll be able to match it with no problem. I'll add the paint information at the end of this video. Let's move on to the next problematic area, the fence supports. While the design guidelines detail what the fence must look like, early on they didn't provide specific detail on how the fence posts should be installed, which resulted in each fence contractor back then figuring out for themselves. Some methods have stood up well over the years, and some not so much. Homeowners have had their fence posts come loose, and some have actually had their fences blow over. Posts that were embedded in concrete, whether in cement blocks or directly in the ground, have fared quite well. Posts that were anchored into the cement top cap have not. Top caps have cracked under the stress, or the mortar holding the top cap in place is separated from the blocks below. Either of these failures requires the fence to be temporarily removed, which includes grinding it out and welding it back, and that doesn't even take into account the post repair. If you find that you need to have this work done, I would insist that the post be embedded in concrete and not just anchored to the top cap again. Because of the cost associated with this type of repair, several workarounds have been installed over the years to hold things in place a little while longer. They may not fix the original problem, but they might be a solution if your damage is not widespread. I actually attempted several repairs before my fence finally gave out. Using a thick straw taped to the end of a tube, I injected construction glue between the separated mortar joints. I also tried tightening the concrete expansion anchors that held my posts to my cement top caps. These repairs may have bought me a year or two, but they were no match for the high winds here. My fence is looking pretty good right now, but let me share my lessons learned with you. If you need a fence repair, use a fence contractor, not your landscaper. If your fence is getting sprayed with water, especially reclaimed water, talk to your neighbor, the golf course, or the HOA to have the spray head corrected. If you have rust forming, the sooner you address it, the cheaper the repair will be. It might be as simple as a wire brush and a can of Rust-Oleum, but you'll never know unless you go and look. If you're interested in learning more about the rules and regulations for Trilogy fences, contact either the HOA or use the online portal and search under the Documents tab. Well, thanks again, and I hope you have better luck with your fence than I've had with mine. And Charlie thanks you too. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the like button.